Hello, my name is Miles Jameson, and this is my personal sprint log for Introduction to Game Design with my group's project Cryptic Fiends. On Monday, it was me and my group just starting out, so I spent roughly 3 hours establishing the game's goal with everybody else among the group and researching the history and background behind our inspiration, cryptids. You can find the evidence of us doing that here on this document where we integrated most of our ideas. This is my color specifically for what I wrote down, while the rest are things that I built off of of the rest of my group. For research purposes, there was a website on fandom specifically related to cryptids, which was very useful in finding our information. For the second day, I spent roughly 3 hours creating the assorted cards and researching the types of cryptids that would be incorporated, specifically the stats of everything that would be made. While I didn't finish everything among that day, I was able to go through and create very basic ideas for everything that could be used to further along the project and help create the art assets in the end. After that, I spent about an hour and a half drafting a basic rule set for gameplay. On this sheet, where me and Leela, another person in my group, work together to fill out a very basic turn order, create items for every games, and create rules for actually playing the game itself. I specifically used this time to create the rule. I specifically used this time to create the setup and the gameplay loop in order to better establish what was going on. On Wednesday, I spent 3 hours. I spent 3 hours in a call with the group, going over the cards, rule sets, and how we thought that the rest of that would go. We took screenshots of all of our. We took screenshots involving our meetings, which you can be found right here. Notice the time down here saying 10:44, or later on whenever we exit, it says 106, and the screen grab specifically from the account stating that the call lasted for roughly 3 hours. On Wednesday, I spent 3.5 hours finishing the stats and rules regarding the monster cards. Everything to better differentiate how that happened. The Excel sheet shows all of our changes, and if you were to go to Wednesday, you'd notice all of my edits and everything that was used in order to fill out the rest of this sheet. Continuing on, I spent another 1.5 hours balancing the stats of the cards that were previously made with it in order to create a more cohesive feel amongst our game. On Thursday, I started working on the cursed item cards, and finished the domain cards in themselves. While we don't have much art yet, we have lots of stats going through and various ideas to build upon, which I have documented here, as well as the domain cards, which have been completely finished in order to be used among the game. Finally, after talking with the group, we thought that using Tabletop Simulator would be a very good way to create a visual representation, as well as to be able to create the game in a playable fashion. So I created here a very basic idea behind how this game would work, including this playmat designed by Leela, another member of my group, which I imported into the game and have been building upon since. After that, our group got into another call, which lasted for roughly an hour, as evidenced by this screen grab here, dating the time and when it happened. On Friday, our group decided to add a fifth element into the game, so I had to go and rework my previous balancings. The fifth element can be noted here, where I created a very small type chart based off of the elements that we had created in order to play the game. While it's not specifically correct, these are not specifically correct due to the way that I have photoshopped it in. The arrows signify how each element will interact with each other. After that, on Friday, I spent roughly 3 hours going through both the product and sprint log in order to polish it for the assignment that was due at that time. I created a rough color code indicated here to show what has and hasn't been completed yet, what is in progress, and what it needs to be reviewed among the group. Notice here all these green squares have been completed by either me, Leela, or Autumn as of the time of completion. Moving on, anything else among these groups have been are being worked on at the moment or need to be discussed among the group before officially saying that it's been completed. Further on the sprint log, I went through and made sure that everything is correct, added more details into all the descriptions and notes, and gave a better execution of how everything would work in the end. On Saturday, I continued to work on the new cryptid type, energy, as it had not been fully completed yet. Going through, we have almost all of the stats ready, aside from a couple extra ones which are planned to be done within the next day or two. Finally, today, I went through and worked on polishing everybody's, not just mine, documents to make sure that they were up to the standards of the group. I also went through and created an extensive how-to guide in order to help the rest of my group create the game on Tabletop Simulator, which is our goal for next week. Thank you.